Hello, welcome to my video manifesto. My name is James Hampton. I'm standing in the constituency of Rushen. You should all be receiving one of these either today or tomorrow in the post. On the front it says that there will be a video version, and this is it. So front cover, terrible photograph of me, contact details. Some bullet points on the first few pages. First page is sort of key things that I think are important in my relationship with you as an MHK if I'm elected. The first one is kind of the headline really for me. I will make every decision open to public debate and vote if the public want to. It's not that I anticipate that the public want or need to be voting on everything that passes through TYNWALD, but the power to do so will affect everything, every decision that's made. If the elected representatives know that the public can comment on everything and have power to affect decisions, that will inevitably improve the quality of the decisions that those people make, including me. The most critical really in the short term, from a pragmatic point of view, is a vote on a new policy programme for government and potentially a new Chief Minister. The policy programme for government is a recommendation out of the LISVANE report that we'll cover more in a minute. I will do this by attempting to contact every household. So if I am elected, I will send out a mail shot immediately after the election, which will be addressed with postage paid back to me. So there will be a question or two on that paper which will basically say, do you want to vote on a new programme for government? My hope is that everybody will put a cross in and say yes, they do want to vote on a new programme for government, and just put it back in a post box to me. If I get enough of those, then that allows me to go into the first sessions of TYNWALD and say the public want this. Lord LISVANE recommended it and the public want it. And it will be very hard, if I do get enough of them, for any new administration to ignore that. And that's the only way that change is going to happen. History will show you that. I've committed to the power of recall, which means that basically if the people who elect me don't think that I'm doing a very good job, or they don't think that I'm doing as I promised I would do, I will stand down on the basis of a public vote. I'll attempt to respond to any inquiry within 24 hours if physically possible to do so, and I'll produce a public log of those inquiries and how they're being handled or processed. That will be published. I will record and publish every action that I take for the public. Basically record a full timesheet of what I'm actually doing. I don't think it'll make for fascinating reading, but I think it's important that it's there. That if anybody wants to know, they can know what I'm doing. And I've also said that I'll remain at the rate of pay that I'm currently at. I won't take any salary increase over what I'm currently being paid per hour, because there's quite a big question mark over financial considerations with government decisions, and I think that it's important that that's not an issue. If there's anything left over, I don't know if there will be or not, but if there's anything left over from standard salary versus what I would be paid per hour, I will put that back out to the public to use as they want, hopefully to improve democracy or to support public services. I won't accept a public sector pension, and I will submit all expenses for inspection by the public as part of that log to be approved by them in the first instance. It's about 100% transparency really, and that's what I'm aiming for. I've then got a couple of pages of sort of key policy points that I feel are important, and these are what I would be pushing to be in a new programme for government for you to approve. These are the sort of bullet points that will be expanded upon later. The first one, of course, is the implementation of the recommendations of the LISVANE report on TYNWALD reform. This should include a new programme for government, obviously, but I would seek to go further, and I support a fully elected TYNWALD, directly elected by you. And I would go further, as I say, and make sure, or I would be pushing for the public to have real power over every decision. Not because the public want to be involved in every decision, but the power will change the way those decisions are made. Without this and the broad-based engagement that it requires, everything else that follows is nothing more than a wish list. And that's the same for every manifesto, as we'll expand on later. We need to push for diversification of the economy. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. The Economic Development Fund, which has been set up, and any future investments need to be focused for supporting ideas and innovation in ways that will do more to ensure that these businesses develop deep roots in our economy. I don't think that the government is the best body to be making what are inherently risky cash investments. There are many things that we can do to provide the ingredients to create the best possible environment for new startups. You know, we've got legislative flexibility, we've got premises, quality of life, security, training facilities, data connections, and potentially cheap renewable energy as well. We can do all of those things and do them better than we are now for less risk and less money than just pumping in cash investments, which I think require business acumen that the government isn't essentially the best body to provide. I would like to see a full and clear picture of all government finances presented in layman's terms. Government accounts are accounts. I'm not an accountant, and not everybody else is, and I would like to see a clear and broadly agreed assessment of government finances, because I think that will allow us to conduct a fair and open debate on the level and cost of all public services and public sector pension liabilities. Until we've got that information, I don't think you can have that debate, because most people don't read accounts. If it's clarified that the reality is that we could default as a nation as a result of the public sector pension liabilities, then negotiation as to how to resolve that must happen, and must happen fast. The alternative is that both parties in that deal are going to lose out significantly. Only full engagement of the public will ensure this. We've had many years of not resolving this to prove that that's the case. I would push for the implementation of the recommendations of the 2010 AEA report, when there'll be a link below to that. This report suggested and the implementation of its recommendations would allow the Isle of Man to start producing its own energy for conversion into electricity and selling it on to, for instance, the UK, who are in desperate need of electricity. This will not only potentially reduce local carbon emissions, but also provide a vital sector for local agriculture and forestry. At the same time, it will produce revenue to help pay for the infrastructure, the cost of which is currently being loaded on to electricity consumers and ratepayers. I would call for a change. I would support the call for a change in the law so that anything that's sold as Manx produce is guaranteed as such. Farmers are already complying with a mountain of red tape to ensure that the produce is traceable from birth or harvest to abattoir or wholesaler. And this data could so easily offer valuable marketing information with very little or no government investment. It doesn't have to cost us anything. The systems are already in use in many places, which will allow a consumer to scan a code on a product and have all of the information about where that product has come from, right there in front of them. This level of food security and traceability is valuable both locally and in terms of exports. We have something unique here, and we're not maximising our potential. I would seek an opinion on the establishment of a government-supported and locally run cooperative ferry company. This is a bit of an unusual idea, but co-ops are the most stable form of business across the world, and the main benefit is that all the profits stay on the island. There is no logical reason to continue with services that are completely outside our control and do nothing but siphon money away from us. Given that the current position the steam packet is in, it may be possible that we can pick up and convert the existing company structure, because fundamentally its value is based upon the deal that we give it. If found to be viable, the same model could easily be used to improve air links as well. I would push for a revision of planning policy to ensure that the wishes of the majority are enforced. I think it's an extremely divisive issue that the public perceive that there's one rule for some and another rule for everybody else. It's not to say that the public don't want development, but development has to be seen to be in the interests of society, and I don't think that's the case at the moment. I would support the call for a review of abortion law. Abortion is happening, and it's going to happen whether the law is changed or not. If the law isn't changed and we don't provide services, that is putting local women at risk, and I think that's a very difficult situation. However, the level of care provided in the UK on this issue is not the model that we should be following, in my opinion. All possible steps should be taken in terms of care provided to ensure that abortion is always the last resort, and that should be enshrined in law if anything is changed. This doesn't happen in the UK. There is very little support and there's very little investigation of why abortion happens. My hope is that the Isle of Man can go beyond and show what a caring society really means. We have created a situation with same-sex marriage which has gone beyond the UK. I hope that we can do the same with abortion. This decision should ultimately rest with the public. This is a highly sensitive issue and the public should vote on it. It's not something that I should force my decision on anybody. I would ask the public to demand a complete and clean sheet review of health and welfare services. This should focus on the level of provision desired and the most efficient way to provide it, the associated costs and how we pay for it in simple terms. Dissatisfaction with services is often due to a lack of information, and the risk of dangerous failures is only going to rise if this debate doesn't happen. The debate should focus on frontline staff and the public, not on external reviews and commissions with no reference to realistic funding debate. It's pointless talking about setting standards if you're not talking about what those standards cost. The time to grasp this problem, this nettle, is now. That's it for the introductory section. The next section will be on my sort of views on how the system should change, and that will be in another video.